Do you want to look? Oh,
Got
got
it.
it.
Okay. Look
Liz, you
here.
look super cute, by the way.
Yes, you do.
All right, so
And then at the end.
I threw on a hockey jersey.
I've got my Milwaukee Wolfpack t-shirt on.
Right here.
Yay.
ready?
Liz, you
Okay,
look super cute, by the way.
I'm gonna
Yes,
mute
you do.
myself so you
Alright,
guys
so-
could go. And then at the end.
I threw on a hockey. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. I am super excited to talk about one of my favorite topics with one of my favorite people. Liz Lincoln and I are going to be chatting about women athletes in romance. So I guess we'll go ahead and get started. Liz, if you want to introduce yourself, tell the audience what you write and what your most recent titles are.
I am Liz Lincoln. I write overall contemporary romance. I've got 3 different series out. The first one doesn't have any sports in it. The second is men's football series. And then my most recent series is women's soccer. And the most recent title is book 2 in that series, which is She's a Keeper.
Awesome. Which I am reading right now, actually,
Ooh.
which is the worst thing you can tell an author, right?
know.
Like, oh, we can be reading your book right now. And it's like, oh no. The weird thing about being an author, that you want people to read your book and you are terrified to have people reading your book.
Yep. You want people to read your book, but you never want to know that they're reading your book.
Exactly. Just like tell me in 5 years that you read it.
Yeah.
That-
And you loved it.
Yes. And I'm Kelly Farmer. I write queer contemporary romance with snarky humor and heart. I mostly write sapphic romances, and I have the Out on the Ice trilogy, which is set in the women's professional hockey world. The first book in the series is Out on the Ice, and the second book is Unexpected Goals. And then the third book is Calling the Shots. And I guess I'll talk a little more about the books later. That's just a taste. So as always in the comments, I'll be watching the comments. So if you, anyone wants to say hi, if you want to ask questions, that is where we will be drawing for winners of the gift cards. We each are giving away a $10 gift card. So the more you chat, the more chances to win. So I will keep tabs on that. I'm going to be watching. Actually, I'm clicking right now over to YouTube. We're on a Zoom call, and I'm clicking to YouTube so that I can be sure to see that comment section. But I paused it on YouTube so that you don't hear the weird feedback. All right. So Liz, why did you decide to set a series in the women's professional soccer world?
Well, largely because I am a big fan of women's soccer. My daughter, who has actually moved on from soccer now, but was really big into soccer for a while, fell in love with the U.S. women's team, who, if you're even a little familiar with women's soccer, dominate internationally. And then she got me hooked on the U.S. National Women's Soccer League. And so we've gone to a number of games down in Chicago, which is the closest team to my family. And I don't do anything halfway. So she got me into it, and I just dove right in. I love women's soccer. I think it's an incredible sport, and I think a lot of the women that play it are, my daughter couldn't pick better role models. They're just, they're out off the field, they're fighting for equal pay, and that they won that in U.S. courts a few years ago, or I guess it was less than a year ago. And that has had a domino effect internationally. Other women's soccer teams in different countries are bringing lawsuits against their own countries. Canada is now having a really big equal pay fight.
Yeah.
which unfortunately is not going great for the, the women players because of the way their pay and league is structured. I don't understand all the specifics, but yeah, so I just love women's soccer, and I kind of looked around, and I mean, we know men's hockey is the big sport in romance.
Yes. There are a
and-
lot
and
of
I do-
shirtless dudes with skate
Yes.
blades, which always makes me go,
Yes.
ooh, be careful.
Yeah. Put on a shirt.
Yeah, yeah.
And I also am a big NFL fan. So I have a men's football romance series. But I wasn't seeing a lot of women athletes, and that's Violet, by the way, behind me.
Hi,
Here.
Violet.
Say hi, Violet. Sorry, ADHD, I'm distractible.
That's okay. Plus, Kitty was being really stinking cute in the background.
So yeah, I wanted to write some women athletes, and it made the most sense to do soccer because that's the sport I love. So
Yeah, mine, actually similar to what you were saying. I also sort of, the short answer, which I'll go back to the beginning afterwards, is that, you know, I also noticed that there weren't a lot of women athletes in romance novels. And, you know, as we all know, that we love our hunky male athlete heroes. You know, every sport imaginable is out there. And, you know, if you want the romantic pairing and you want the sport, you will find it. But, you know, it's a lot harder to find women athletes who are, you know, the main characters of their stories. And so I actually, like you, I love hockey, but I really, really enjoy women's ice hockey. It's a different sport. It's faster in the sense that, you know, there's not checking and there's a lot more up and down on the ice. It's just a lot of fun to watch. And for the most part, they are doing it for the love of the sport, not for the money. They actually, the U.S. Women's national team took a page from the soccer team, and they sort of like followed the model and did a similar thing to say, hey, we want more money. We are winning the gold medal or the silver medal at every Olympics and World Championship. Like, we too would like a cut of that large sum of money, please. So that was really cool to sort of see, like, you know, women athletes helping women athletes in the sense of like, like the one fight that the soccer players made, the hockey players were able to sort of like pick up the gauntlet, I guess. And the other thing for me, my romances are all sapphic, so they're women loving women. And in the women's hockey world, they fall in love with each other all the time. They get married, they have beautiful babies. It's like a world that was so ripe for romance that I was like, oh, I mean, 100% have to set a love story sets in this world because they're out there falling in love all the time in women's hockey. And plus a lot of, I would say the majority of the players are, at least in the US women's league, they are either American or Canadian for the most part. And there's a huge cross-border rivalry. So that is like, again, like you're just setting yourself up for plot bunnies.
I actually, there's a couple that's, one of them is a US player and one of them is a Canadian player in women's hockey. And that actually inspired an element in my most recent book, which is also a sapphic soccer romance. I have a Canadian player and a US player who are on the same NWSL team, but they play for two different countries. And that was inspired by women's hockey.
Is the rivalry as fierce for the soccer women national teams, or does the US have like a bigger rival?
I think Canada's probably their biggest rival still. I mean, because geography
Yeah.
always, and they just, it being in the same conference, they play Canada more often than they play some of the other countries. Yeah.
I think the same thing with women's hockey. There's just,
Mhm.
just hop over the border and, like
Yep.
job wise and work wise, a lot of them work in like both like respective
leagues.
countries.
Yeah.
And or universities or colleges. So yeah, the
Yep.
worlds are extremely intermeshed.
Yep.
But all of the friendly feelings go away when it's a national team
Once
game.
yeah.
It's like, bye honey, I love you, but gonna go kick your butt now.
Exactly. And in the world of women's hockey, my alma mater just won another big tournament, University of Wisconsin,
Yes.
the Frozen Four.
Mhm.
So I have a friend who covers women's sports as a freelance journalist, and she was up at the Frozen Four
Cool.
covering that. So got to see all the highlights coming through my Twitter feed.
Yeah, well, the Badgers, I mean, they have a very good men's hockey team too. Like, no,
They do.
no
They do.
shade on the men's hockey team, but they're women's our women's.
It's something like 6 of the last 7
Yeah,
years they've won, or something like that.
yeah,
Yeah, they're very good.
I've had 2. Let's put it this way: there's only been 6 main characters in the Out on the Ice series, and 2 of them played for the Badgers. Like, not a coincidence,
As they should.
Because they're champions. So obviously,
Yes.
Yeah. So speaking about those, all of those, again, we love our male athletes, heroes, keep them coming. But why do you think there's so many of them and just so few female main characters in romance?
I mean, I think it goes to an overall societal thing that we just value men's sports over women's sports. I know the NWSL, I have to subscribe to Paramount Plus to get their games. Not all their games are even on Paramount Plus. They're on like CBS Sports Network, which is not broadcast basically anywhere. So versus, I can watch any Packers game I want.
Right.
So, and I think, unfortunately, that plays into it when we're choosing who we want to write about. Marketing comes into play. And I think that because men's sports are unfortunately more popular, well, not unfortunately, but they are more popular. I think it's probably more marketable to write men's sports. And it's a big consideration for a lot of authors. And I think too, authors are more likely to be fans of men's sports. So just statistically. So I think then, write what you pick the sport you're a fan of.
Yeah, I think that's a really big part of it, is that just historically, there have been men's professional sports for a very long time. And it's really only recent that there's women's professional like team sports. I mean, we've had figure skaters and equestrians, and there have been professional women athletes, but if you're looking for that sort of traditional romance, like team sport romances, they're just, I mean, the NWSL has had legs and has been around, and certainly, women's basketball thriving, which is amazing. Women's hockey has absolutely had its stumbles and tumbles trying to get professional leagues going. When I first started writing Out on the Ice, the first book in the series, I was like, why is no one writing about women's hockey? There's a professional league. People should be doing this. And then I was like, oh my God, it's so hard to write a book set in the professional leagues, because I have a story I will tell later about a league changing its name while I was writing the Out on the Ice series. It's challenging because these leagues fold a lot,
Yeah.
women's softball.
Yeah.
And it's just, if you started a series and was writing it and then the actual league folded, you'd be like, oh, great.
Yeah.
Now,
Well, the NWSL is, I mean, you say it has legs, it's only 11 years old. And it's the third professional women's soccer league since kind of the big boom of women's soccer in the US, which was really in 1999 with the 99ers winning the World Cup.
yeah. I feel
And
like what
since
happens.
then,
Oh, sorry,
since
go
then
ahead.
there's been 3 leagues, and the NWSL has lasted the longest and hopefully will continue to last. But
Yeah. It's I feel like hockey and soccer are very similar in that they're like something big happens, like we win the World Cup or the women's gold medal at the Olympics, and all of a sudden like America goes, oh wait, we like women's soccer now. Yeah. Wait, we have a good women's soccer team. We have a good women's hockey team. And then there's like this spike of interest. But then if it doesn't have proper backing and management and all that stuff, it just goes. And women's hockey's had that happen too. There's, I'm very excited that the PHF, the Premier Hockey Federation, is growing. Each year it's growing. So I'm kind of like, I'm super cautious. Like, I hope that everything is going okay. Like, I hope that you guys are growing. They've gotten big sponsors. They're actually paying some players livable wages now. Like,
that was a big thing for the latest collective bargaining in NWSL was the livable wage contracts, because 2 years ago, a lot of them were working second jobs.
Yeah. And in women's hockey, it's like nobody made a living from it. It's like literally this past season in the PHF, like some of the players were making a living wage, and their salary cap is increasing every year, which is great. So there's that big hope that every single player can pay their bills and have a little extra.
Not need a second job.
Yeah. And that's actually one of the things that I really wanted to highlight in the Out on the Ice series was, showing the reality of this is that they're playing it for the love of the game. And in the first 2 books, Out on the Ice and Unexpected Goals, there's actual active players and they all have other jobs, every single one of them. And then actually in the 3rd book, Calling the Shots, they're both rival coaches. And it's very clear neither one of them are living on their coach's salary. So it's definitely something that's like, it's a reality that you kind of need to show readers, because a lot of people didn't even know there was a professional women's hockey league in the US and Canada. It's a cross-border league. So it's like, it's good in a way to like say, hey, yeah, we think, when you hear professional athlete, you hear like, you picture, giant mansions and cars and gold jewelry and fabulousness. And now it's like people living with roommates and, maybe driving the same car.
Even if you're on the national team and you win the World Cup. My daughter and I listened to a podcast called Snacks, which is 2 of the US women's national team players. And they were roommates for a long time because they were not making enough, even on the US national team and winning a World Cup. They didn't make enough between the 2 leagues to live by themselves.
Yeah, I know that there's a lot of even like women who play in the WNBA who, I mean, as we certainly know, like with Brittany Griner, that like in their off season, they play basketball somewhere else because they need the money.
And there's a lot of US players for soccer who also, because the US soccer season is spring to fall, And in Europe, it's fall to spring.
Mhm.
So they go on loan, which I don't understand all the logistics of that, but they go on loan to these European teams. So they're playing year round.
Mhm. Yeah, pretty
And
much just
yeah,
to, you know, it's great that there's opportunity, and,
Mhm.
and obviously if you're a professional athlete, you love playing your sport, so you're excited to
Yeah.
do it. But I don't like the idea that you have to do it financially, like you have to
Right.
do it.
Right. And then you get no time off.
Right. Like you don't get that recovery
that-
season that you really do need.
Yeah. Because it's hard on their bodies.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so what do you think is the best part about writing about women athletes or women athletics or sports leagues?
That I get to watch soccer games and call it research and tell my family, oh, yeah, no, I'm going to be writing, and then go watch a soccer game.
That's brilliant. Yes, research. We do a lot of things for research as writers.
Research. Yes. I suppose technically I could write off my Paramount Plus subscription as well.
I
At
think
least
you'd
during
work
the-
on that.
Yeah. At least during the NWSL season.
Yeah, I should try that. Because the PHF games are on ESPN Plus, which I don't have. So
Yeah.
maybe I'll ask my accountant about that. Yeah, for me, it's a little bit of what we were talking about, how I like that that I'm bringing awareness to the fact that there is professional women's hockey. And showing the reality of it and the challenges that the players face and the severe lack of equity in their everything. It's been fun, and it's actually just funny, like as I've been writing this series, the Professional Women's League has grown. I write a fictionalized version of the PHF, so like there's the Premier Hockey Federation, and my league is the North American Women's Hockey League. And so it helps to just sort of show people, like even from the first book to the third book, and like the league has grown and expanded, and so it's just kind of cool to literally be on the ride and to just kind of get to reflect that in my stories. I will say that the most challenging part about writing about women athletes is the lack of visibility in general, and the fact that from a writing perspective, that readers might not necessarily even be looking for these books because they like don't know it exists. Like, I like, for women's hockey, it's like every 4 years people pay attention to it, like, oh, the
Mhm.
Olympics. But like they actually play a lot more than just the Olympics. And so it would it would be kind of nice to not have to. Some of my marketing is very much like, hey, did you know there's professional women's hockey?
It exists.
It exists.
Yeah.
Like, so that can sometimes be challenging. Like you had said earlier, men's sports are everywhere. Everyone knows about the NHL, the NFL, even if you don't follow it, there's Premier Soccer League. There's like in the world, there's sports. So sometimes it feels a little bit like, hey, guess what? We're around too.
There's no World Cup this year, but we're still playing.
Like they don't just dust off their cleats every 4 years and let's go. And for me, I don't know if you feel this too, but like it's also really hard to find that balance of writing the actual like sport and like especially like game action or practices or whatever.
Yeah.
That's really hard.
Yeah, you don't want to turn off the readers who aren't that into the sport by putting in too much sport, but you want to put in enough.
Yeah.
And
that's a delicate balance of like, you don't want to alienate readers who like aren't familiar with the lingo, but if you're familiar with the lingo, you want to use the lingo. So it's
right.
it's a
I
little.
don't want another soccer fan to be like, no, they call it the pitch, not the field.
I have
also
100%
I
made
don't-
that mistake.
But I also don't want another reader to be like, what's the pitch?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it can be challenging. It's also really hard because, sports are fast. And if you're trying to
Mhm.
write like game action or like, practice action, it's really hard to write it instead of just being like watching it. So that's always fun. We have some questions. Thank you so much.
Okay.
And again, if the more you chat with us, the greater your chances of winning one of our gift cards. So chat away. Uzu, and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your name, said, I have a female athlete in my sports romance who is a pro player in the same league as her love interest. How do you balance the sports action without boring people as you weave in the romance? So that ties into what we were just talking about.
Yeah. I would say at the end of the day, it's a romance. So you want it to be predominantly romance. I've read sports romances that have the sport is sort of just a backdrop and it's barely there. And it works. I would say if you're writing more than about 15% of your book is sports, it's probably going to hit a balance where you're going to lose a lot of readers. But beyond about 10 or 15%, you can it depends on the book you want to write.
Yeah, for sure. And there is a wide range. And I think some books maybe do require more of the sport, particularly, if you're in the same league or sport, you're playing against each other. Like there's more opportunity there for sure. Whereas if you're writing a romance where like one of them is a player and one of them's like not even an athlete, you maybe don't need as much sport. Like that's a great way. Like if you want to write something that happens in the off season, like they're training, or like this is what they do when they're not at the rink or the field. So and it's your point about it's a romance first and foremost is probably the best answer, is that the main character's interaction is the most important part of the story. Like the sport supports it. Maybe they met because of the sport, or it could be the conflict that's keeping them apart. But yeah, the romance is a central part. Brandy said, I joined late, so I might have missed this, but I'd love to know what inspired us to choose the particular sports featured in their books. I think we talked about this at the beginning, but totally fine to re-say. I'm a very big women's hockey fan, and there just weren't a lot of books set in that world. And I just wanted to throw my hat into the ring.
Pretty much the same, except soccer.
So kind of write what you know.
Yeah.
So funny story. I many, many, many years ago got this idea to write a book about like a guy who like was a really good hockey player and he was supposed to go pro, and then he like injured his shoulder so badly he couldn't go pro. I didn't know anything about hockey, like nothing. So I literally learned about the sport as an adult to write a book. So
nice.
So you can sometimes just kind of stumble into a sport accidentally and then grow to love it.
Yeah.
Stephanie said, Kelly, what is your PHFT? Boston Pride fan here. I love Boston Pride too. I have to say my team is the Minnesota Whitecaps. So you can imagine I was kind of sad. They had their the Isabel Cup final game this past weekend, and it went into overtime, and the Toronto 6 won. And I was bummed, but I was also happy that the Toronto 6 won because I think they're a really good team. And I'm sure you're groaning and shaking your head because Minnesota kicked Boston out of the playoffs. That was a total upset. So I was honestly shocked. So, but yeah, go Pride. Actually the kind of core team for the Out on the Ice series is the Boston Ice. So that's my fictional Boston team. Yeah, and thanks for answering my question. You are welcome. And yes, please ask more. So I noticed you write in the actual NWSL, correct? In your
Yes.
league.
Mhm.
And did you ever consider writing a fictional league or a fictionalized version of the real league?
I did. My first draft actually had I think it was the PWSL, Professional Women's Soccer League. And then I decided I wanted to highlight the actual NWSL. And so changed it over.
But your
revisions.
teams, your
The team
your
is
teams are all
fictional, yes.
fictional. Yeah.
Alas, Milwaukee does not have a professional team. Maybe
Yeah.
someday. We
Maybe
don't have an
someday.
MLS team though. So, and pretty much all the teams are where there's a men's team as well.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, I have never been to a Chicago Red Stars game. I've never been to a Chicago Fire game either, but I've never been to a Red Stars game. And I was super impressed that you guys drove all the way down to Bridgeport, Illinois, from Milwaukee. Because I live in the Chicago area and I've never been there because it's like the opposite end of the city from where I live. So
yeah.
I would
No,
love
my
to
daughter
go.
is a very dedicated fan, and she was actually honored she was a rising star of the game for one of the Red Stars games. So she got to go on the field at halftime and it was really neat.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I bet were you the mom taking like 100 pictures? Like,
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, you have to.
Yeah. And they're very accessible. The players are very accessible after the games. They come up to the stands and sign autographs and everything. So she's gotten autographs from a bunch of her favorite players.
Oh, I'm sure, because a
So
lot
really
of
cool.
yeah, and like a lot of the big names have come through Chicago. So
Yep. And even if they don't play for Chicago, we go specifically to see certain other teams when they're in town because she's got favorite players on those teams.
aw,
So
that's really cute. Yeah, Brandy says she'll go to a Red Stars game with us. Done.
awesome.
Done and done. Find us on social media and we will plan it. I have no excuse now. If Liz is driving from Milwaukee to go to a game, like
I'll go.
I can get my tush in a car and go. The reason why I wanted to ask this question is because I have a very long story about this that I will make very short, is that originally, for anyone out there who did read Out on the Ice, like when it was first released, I did set mine in what was then the NWHL, the National Women's Hockey League. And it was the same exact reason that you said, because I wanted to raise visibility and awareness to the real league. It's a little challenging in the sense of like, you have to go with the parameters of like their schedule and when they're, like this is their schedule and this is where the teams are and this is when their championship game is played. But this, like I said, this is a very like bonkers story. So I write for Carina Press for the Hockey Books, which is owned by Harlequin. And the Harlequin legal team maybe got a little worried at some point about all of these romances using real sports teams, leagues and names and trophies. And so they kind of like said, hey, could we maybe not use real league names anymore or real trophies? So I actually changed. It was like, I was very, very late in edits with Unexpected Goals, the second book in the series. And I had to change my league's name. Surprise. But so I did, and it was like, you know what, I was like, this is fine. I'm gonna, this will give me more freedom. I can kind of make stuff up more. Well, like literally a month or two later, the real league changed its name. The NWHL became the PHF. And I was like, well, if that wasn't a blessing in disguise, I don't know what is. So it's funny that those titles are all digital only books. So it's been changed in like the digital book, the book that
Lighter
actually
edition.
exists.
Yeah.
But I have they used to do a print run of digital titles, so I have print copies that still say the National Women's Hockey League. So those are like true collector's items now. So that's-
I figured my NFL series, my Milwaukee Dragons, is with a now defunct line that Random House did. And they were okay with me using the NFL. So I figured if Random House Legal said it was okay to do the NFL, I was probably safe
yeah.
using the NWSL.
Yeah, I feel like
So.
too, we're doing your work here, professional leagues. Like we're
Right.
raising awareness. We're telling people you
Yeah.
exist. Like
Yeah. This is free
thanking-
publicity for them.
you should be thanking Romance Landia for the like
Yes.
thousands and thousands of sports romances we've written.
Yes.
Yeah, why would you sue us? That would be so mean. Yeah, so I would say
So you have way more money than me.
yeah, I would say that if you're feeling brave, write in the real league, but if you're concerned at all that league may change its name someday, maybe go ahead and fictionalize it. Just save yourself like a lot of like texting in the group chat, because I was freaking out, and then it ended up being the best thing that happened to that. So we have some more chat. Brandy asked, are there any other sports you'd like to write? I would like to write a soccer romance, just because I think like it's just so ripe for romance. There's especially like sapphic romances. I mean, of course, that's just like catnip. But like in male-female romances, there are tons and tons of pro athletes married to each other in a football player and a hockey player and a soccer player and a tennis pro. Like it's so I would love to, but I would have to learn way more about soccer because like
I am here for your education.
yes, I will we'll see. Liz and Brandy and I will go to that Red Stars game.
Yes.
I will learn about
and we can write
soccer.
off our tickets.
Love it. This is looking better and better.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say soccer would be the other sport I'd like to write in. How about you?
I would like to do swimming, which is a real small potato sport. I have read a few swimming romances. They're all set around the Olympics, of course. But I was a swimmer growing up, so that was my sport. You don't need coordination because I have none.
Have to be able to do this.
Yeah. I did the backstroke, so you have to know how to count your strokes from the flag to the wall so you don't conk your head. But other than that,
yeah, that's important.
Coordination required. And I think it would be fun to do that. But again, there's not a ton of competitive swimming outside of there's 1 or 2 meets a year and then Olympics.
Yeah.
So.
And you have written a football series. Would you consider writing like more football with like, maybe like a woman general manager or a woman coach of some kind?
I would definitely consider it. There's the last 5 years, there's been a lot more women in assistant coaching positions and trainer positions and stuff in the NFL. So that could be fun.
Yeah, I think that there's so much more opportunity to write women in sports now. And they don't have to be playing it. They can just be the general manager, the coach,
managing,
the
agents.
Sports agents. There are not a lot of sports agent books, and that would be a pretty interesting read.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say if you're an author out there, find that pocket that hasn't been explored yet and find it.
Mm-hmm.
And you can find your readers that way because they're out there for sure.
Definitely.
So I want to make sure we're getting everybody in the chat. Stephanie said, Liz, Absolutely loved the chronic illness representation in Scoring a Spouse. Pro female athletes
Thank you.
and chronic illness rep. Thank you.
Absolutely. My pleasure. I have rheumatoid arthritis, which is why I gave it to Erica. So
Yeah. And other Stephanie, hi Steph, this is a Stephanie I know. Hi Stephanie, just chiming in to say I'm learning a lot about women's pro sports. Hooray! Maybe we will encourage you to take that road trip with us to the Red Stars game.
yes, yes.
Uh-oh. I'm
Group trip.
feeling connected series here. We each write a book.
Yeah.
It's like in the same world. Uh-oh. I don't need more plot
That'd be
bunnies.
fun.
That would be fun though.
Seriously.
Stephanie will be messaging me like, that sounds fun. Yeah, Brandy said, romance always doing the thankless work. I mean, that's what we do. We're here to, and we educate a lot with our stories. Usu said, and I think this is when we were talking about the leagues. So it's better to use a fake champion league. My romance is set in pro surfing. Oh, that's amazing. Or should I let a publisher tell me to do that? I would definitely say, write the story you want. Go ahead and set it in the pro surfing leagues, or I'm not sure if it's a league or what. But see, now I want to read your book because I don't know and I want to learn more about pro surfing. Write it the way you want to write it. And if you sign with a publisher and your publisher says, hey, you have to use a fake league, then you can change it. But don't worry about that right now. And if you decide to indie publish it, let's be real, is a pro sports league going to go after an indie author?
Exactly.
No.
They know we have no real resources.
Right. That would just be a jerky move and very bad PR. And sports leagues have a lot of problems with bad PR. So they don't
Especially
need
women's sports need really good PR.
Yeah. They don't need to poop on Romanslandia. And Stephanie Scott says, I have a book with a former female hockey sports agent. It is very lightly a sports book. So nice. What book is that? Drop that one in the comments, Steph, because I want to know, and I want everyone. Yeah, I'm I want everyone to know. The other Stephanie said, what is the book? I must read it. So yes, please put that in the chat so that we can all go get it. All right. So we do have some authors here. So do you have any recommendations for authors who want to write, female athletes or women in sports books?
I would say become a fan of the sport to start. I have seen people in some sports try and jump on those sports, more so in men's sports, but write those books because they're popular and marketable. And if you read the book and you know anything about the sport, it becomes clear that they're not actually fans of the sport. And I think that shines through for readers.
Yes.
So familiarize yourself and grow to love the sport, because you're going to spend a lot of time immersed in that world. And if you don't love it, you're going to start hating your book. And that's no good.
Yeah. And you're just setting yourself up for a lot of headache and heartache if you're, it's one thing to research and okay, I learned about this thing, but if you're not writing it with passion, and sports fans are nothing if not passionate people. So it'll definitely show if you said, oh, hockey is a popular sport, for male hockey romances, so I'll just write a male hockey romance. Well, that readership is voracious and love hockey romances, and they will call you out. Yeah, for sure. I would say that as we've said earlier, just we need more. So please write more female athletes or women in sport jobs, general managers, coaches. Hi, Violet.
No, this is Harley.
Oh, hi, Harley.
A different one. Yeah, we have 3 cats, so.
hopefully they'll all make appearances. The other thing I will suggest, if you're writing romance and you're looking to build a series, picking a team sport is like you have instantly set yourself up to have a world with lots of people milling around. So you have lots of opportunity to have those people fall in love with each other or other people, but they're in the world. So like, that's just a great way to start a series. You can keep going as long as you want.
Yeah. I'm the third book. I originally planned my soccer series as a trilogy, and the third book comes out in May. And I'm sort of on the fence if I want to expand it. So it's going to go on pause for a while because I'm reissuing my football books because I got the rights back to those. But then after those are reissued, I have to decide if I want to keep writing more women's soccer or go on to something else.
Yeah.
But the great thing is, if I decide to go into women's with the women's soccer, there's a whole world of Milwaukee Wolfpack that can get written about.
Yeah, and you've got other teams, got
Yeah.
people in the league, you've got coaches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Sports agent.
Sports agent. We'll talk to Steph Scott about
Yes,
sports
exactly.
agenting.
We can talk about it while we're at the Red Stars game.
Perfect. I'm writing down, It's Falling Into Place is the book. It's on sale right now for 99 cents. So we're all going to go buy that.
Yeah. And I agree with the other Stephanie. That's a one click.
Awesome. So tell us super quickly about your Wolfpack series. Tell us really quickly about the 3 books in the series. And then if you have any recommendations for like other women athlete main characters in romance book.
Okay. So it's the Milwaukee Wolfpack is a fictional NWSL Real League team in Milwaukee because, alas, we have no women's sports teams here in Milwaukee at the pro level. It's all college level. And it's right now it's a trilogy. And it's 3 best friends who have played together on the U.S. women's national team. They came up together in the youth teams and have been friends since they were teenagers. And at the beginning of book 1, Erica just got traded to the Wolfpack from another team. And then her 2 best friends, Rose and Lauren, already play for the team. So the 3 of them are now on the same NWSL team as well. And the first book is A Marriage of Convenience because she has rheumatoid arthritis and needs private health insurance because she doesn't want her health insurance through U.S. Soccer finding out that she's got arthritis. And that book goes through, ends at the Women's World Cup, which is coming up this summer. So I will be doing a bunch of promotion this summer around the Women's World Cup. Probably running some sales. So if you haven't bought those books, you should still buy them through Love Sweet Arrow. But there will probably be promotions coming up. And then book 2 is my Sapphic one that came out in February. And that's Rose and the goalkeeper for the Canadian team, who is also the goalkeeper for the Wolfpack. So they are teammates and rivals at the same time. And then the third one that I'm just finishing up now will come out in May. And that is Lauren's story with actually the head coach of the Canadian women. So
Nice.
They have a history going back to the previous Olympics when he coached for another team. Yeah.
Excellent.
And that one is on Enemies to Lovers.
That's coming out in May, correct?
Yes, that's May 16th. And the the second one is a roommates to lovers. So,
Yay.
and that one's got grumpy cats, one of whom is based off of her.
Who me? Who me?
Yeah.
No. So is it Freddie Mercury and
Freddie Mercury and Mary Purry,
Oh yes.
like Mary Curie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I stole those. Our local humane society does really funny names for the kittens that they get. So I stole those names from our humane society.
Aw. Cute. Brandy said she's a keeper, has so much oral in the best possible way.
No, when Liz said that, she was talking about actually the May release. So much oral. That was a joke at one of our writing retreats because my friend referred to that book as having much oral. And our group chat from that retreat is now nicknamed So Much Oral.
Ah.
It makes me
Well, that's-
happy every time it pops up in my notifications.
Yeah, it's mine's
So,
the Panera Supper Club. So but I don't know. There's a lot of people in the Panera Supper Club have little children, so maybe we have to keep our name a little PG in case it pops up
Yeah.
on their like laptop or whatever.
My kids wouldn't know what that meant.
That's good.
They're older, but they're innocent.
That's good. That's good. We
Yeah.
won't educate them this way.
Yes.
Yeah. So for me, I will super plug the Out on the Ice series. The first book, Out on the Ice, is a Grumpy Sunshine, which is my favorite. It's between Caro, who is a retired former women's hockey player who runs an all-girls hockey school, and Amy, who is a professional player with the Boston Ice. And she comes home for Chicago for the summer to work at Caro's camp. And, it's just supposed to be a summer fling, of course, but then feelings.
Aren't they all?
Those feelings. And then the second book is Unexpected Goals, and that is the enemies to lovers between the Canadian goalie, Maisie, and the American forward who likes to score goals, Jen. And now, of course, they are teammates on the Boston Ice, and they had a extremely public run-in at not I guess the last Olympics. Technically it would have been the 2018 Olympics, and they really don't like each other, but they have to learn how to play nice because for the good of the team, but then feelings. the running theme. And then the third book, Calling the Shots, is rival head coaches. So we have Reagan Lane, who's I kind of describe her as the Megan Rapinoe of women's hockey. And she becomes the head coach of the Boston Ice. And it's kind of a second chance-ish story because she had a youthful fling with the head coach of the New York Lady Liberties, Tierney, and then she ghosted her. And so Tierney kind of never forgave Reagan for it. And now that they're in the same world again. Reagan was a superstar player, and she has since retired and is now coaching. So now, of course, their paths keep crossing, and then feelings. I mean, pesky feelings. I do think it's funny how our series trajectories kind of go similar. We have the teammates who are enemies in the second book, and then bad blood from something that happened a long time ago in the third book.
At the Olympics.
Yeah. Kind of
I
funny.
just want to say, even though book 3 has Megan Rapinoe is basically on the cover of book 1.
Yes.
The first time I saw that book, I was like, well, I have to buy that because it's Megan Rapinoe, even though wrong sport.
Yeah. That was my first reaction when I first saw the draft of the cover. I just was at my day job and I was like, oh my God, it's Megan Rapinoe. How did they get her to model for this?
She has since cut her hair. It's much shorter now.
Yeah.
She doesn't have that swoop over anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's definitely 2019 World Cup Megan Rapinoe.
I was very excited when I saw
Yeah.
when I saw her.
Yeah. And I
Um,
will say, I also am a big fan of Grumpy Sunshine. And book 3 in mine is, she is very grumpy. In fact, she wears a grumpy Smurf, a grumpy Care Bear sweatshirt in a couple scenes.
Huh.
And he is Sunshine.
I think that's my favorite, like in a male-female romance when she is the grumpy, like, come
Yeah.
on. That's just like,
Yeah.
gimme.
And one other thing I want to say about book 3 in my series is it does, there's a surprise pregnancy, and she does get an abortion. And that was something I felt like after what happened this summer, I felt like needed to be tackled. So, but I know that's not everybody's cup of tea. So.
Well, I mean, I want it. I want to read it. I just reading through the chat. Thank you, Stephanie. I had you at hockey school. It's
Me too.
It's fun. It was really cool actually just to like write that and like create this space that was just for like young women and girls to thrive without having to worry about like all that extra stuff. And Stephanie said Maisie's journey is so beautiful. Thank you. It's yeah, it's kind of like a personal story for me to write. And I appreciate it that people responded nicely to it. Brandy asked, do you also like to read spormance? That's sports romance mashed up, or romance about spores, which that's a different event. I'm not going to touch that. Or do you prefer other types of books for your personal reading? This actually is a great, I was going to ask if you had any recommendations of like other sports romances with women.
Well, in women's soccer, I mean, the one that always comes to mind is Chloe
Lease?
I have no idea. Lease? I don't know how to say her last name, but
Sorry,
L-I-E-S-E. Yeah. Apologies for that.
I'll type it in the chat. So.
Because she's got her series, the Bergman Brothers series, has a couple of women's soccer players in it.
Yeah, that's definitely like if you want to read sports romances, that's a whole, what is it, like 5 books, 6 books? I don't
something like that. And it's got male hockey and women's soccer, and it's got male in it, and it's got all kinds of different disability rep, and it's a very diverse series. So yeah, that's the one I always think of with women's soccer. There is another one, and I cannot remember the title or the author, which is really helpful, I know. It's set at the Olympics in, don't come on camera, I'm doing a program. Sorry, child's in here.
Okay.
No, she's not. Sorry. It's set at the 2016 Olympics in Rio. And the hero is a swimmer and the heroine is a women's soccer player. And I read it when I was sort of just starting this series and wanted to read as many women's soccer books as I could find, which was not many. But that one was fun. Especially because I also like the swimming.
With swimming, that was like best of your two worlds colliding.
Both worlds. Yeah.
Fun.
Although you can tell she wrote it before the actual Olympics because she had the U.S. women winning gold and they actually got knocked out in the quarterfinals.
Oh, that's right. Oh.
Or no, the quarterfinals. So they did not medal at that Olympics, and it was a big upset.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but while you're answering this, let me see if I can Google it and find that.
Okay. Yeah, I realize all of my recs are sapphic romances, but they're all really good. I would definitely recommend Gold by E.J. Noyes, and I will type this into the chat. It was it's like one of my favorite books, and it deals with skiing. And it also has the pro athlete main character skier, Aspen. She's actually like fallen from grace. Basically, she's had like injuries and just like she's a lot going on. And it's just a really good book. It's a great romance. And the author recently released Schuss, which I hope I'm saying right. And it's like in the same world. It's sort of a sequel. But I think that's a young adult though. So if you're looking for young adult, you could check that out. I would also recommend the author Rachel Spangler. She has written several sports romances, and like every one of them is not a traditional romance sport. There's snowboarding, there's curling. I've heard that one's very good. I think it's on my TBR, somewhere in the TBR. The curling book is supposed to be really good. Fencing. So if you just check out the author Rachel Spangler, you'll find a couple of sports that you were like, wow, I didn't even know those were romantic sports. And the other place I would recommend, if you are looking specifically for women loving women sports romances, there's a really, really great website called I Heart Sapphic. And I'll put this in the chat too.
Yes.
That they, oh my God, the women doing this are doing the work for us. They put together this massive database that's incredibly searchable. So you can literally just go into the database and click like sports as an option. And you will get all of these sapphic sports romances to choose from. And there's like all the sports. So I will type these in the chat. Is that Settling the Score? Is that book?
Yes. Eliza Madison is my old pen name, but I use it on YouTube because my kids have hijacked my own name on YouTube. Yes, Settling the Score by R.S. Gray is the soccer and swimming romance.
Awesome. And I'm typing in the website for I Heart Sapphic, which I hope I spelled correctly.
It is
Sapphic.
SAFFIC because it's
Sapphic. And
I literally just heard them on a podcast last week.
Yeah, so definitely go there and like you can go to the database and search sports, and you can search anything if you like heat level.
You search hockey or rugby
or if you're like
specific sport.
I want something super spicy, you could just go to like the heat level, or I want kissing only, go to heat level. That's a great resource in general.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah. So I just want to put out that I think we'll be wrapping up soon. So if you have any other questions, please put them in the chat. But so Liz, you touched on it a little bit earlier. What is next for you?
Well, as I said in May, I've got gold medal match, which, as the title kind of implies, will be set partially at the Olympics and in the lead up to the Olympics, trying to make the Olympic team. If you read Scoring a Spouse, you know that certain characters didn't make the Women's World Cup team, and they have a chip on their shoulder about that. So yeah, that's out May 16th and available for pre-order now. And then after that, this summer and fall, I will be re-releasing my men's football series. And that was a 3-book trilogy originally because the line folded before I got to finish it. So I'm actually writing the 4th book for that series to come out at the end of it so that I can finish the series. It was always intended to be 4 books. And then after that, I've got some ideas in the hopper, but right now they're still just ideas and only a few people get to know about them.
Well, actually, it's going to be this women's soccer trilogy that we're writing with Stephanie Scott and Brandy Shaw, apparently, because
well, so that'll be a 4-book series,
right? 4-book series, perfect.
Yes,
I call Grumpy Sunshine.
All right. Friends to lovers. Love that trope.
Oh, see, okay, so Stephanie and Brandy, you need to claim your tropes for this. So next for me, I actually have a cover reveal tomorrow.
I saw that.
So
I can't wait.
excited. Yeah, I have a book coming out October 17th called It's a Fabulous Life. It's a sapphic, It's a Wonderful Life retelling. And the angels are drag queens. That's all I have to say, right?
Yeah, going to pre-order that right now.
Yeah, it's available for pre-order, but wait till you see the cover, then you're going to want it even more. It's this cover.
Well,
is-
I subscribed to your newsletter, so I
Oh,
saw the cover today.
Oh, that's right. My newsletter subscribers got the
Yeah.
preview.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's coming out in October, and then actually I'm a part of the Happily Ever After Collective, which is this super cool Patreon subscription service that basically, you pay to be in the Patreon, and then each month there are 4 brand new novellas from different authors, and each month is a different trope. So like we've had enemies to lovers, friends to lovers, we had the secret baby, or like unexpected pregnancy. And so all the novellas have that topic, and they're all written by diverse authors with queer romances, and you name it and you're going to get it in the collective. I can't tell you when mine is coming out. The only thing I can say is mine has not come out because it's a secret as to what month the authors are in. So all I can say is mine hasn't come out yet. So I like, it's so hard. Like I want to talk about this story so bad because I love it, but I'm like, I can't. So I'll be very, very excited when I can talk about it. All right, let's do a drawing for gift cards. What do you say?
Sounds good.
I'm going to do this very scientifically accurate thing and just kind of scroll up and down until I land on somebody. So I'm scrolling. Right here, I've landed on Stephanie Boudoin, who I apologize if I have mispronounced your last name. Stephanie, you won my gift card. Yay! I think the best thing to do, I'll put my email address in the chat here because I don't want you sharing your email address publicly, and mine is publicly available. I will put it in here. If you don't mind sending me an email so that I can send that to you, that would be terrific. If you want to, you can also, I'll put my website. If you want to just like fill out the comment section of my website, totally fine, whatever, up to you. But yay, congratulations. I will send that to you. And now Liz can do whatever scientific method you want.
I did pretty much the same thing, and the first one I landed on myself. So did it a second time and landed on Brandy Shaw. So Brandy, I know how to contact you. I will be in touch.
Yes, and she, by the way, Brandy called fake dating for the
Yes.
the world. So, yeah. So my email is there for you, Stephanie, and I've put my website here as well. If anyone wants to follow me on the socials, I'm on Facebook and Twitter. There's links on there. I kind of put, I made my website one-stop shopping. So there's links for the socials and those things there. And if you'd like to sign up for my author newsletter, you can certainly do that there as well. You get cool things like cover reveals before everybody else.
You do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do actually have 3 short stories in the Out on the Ice series. If you are a newsletter subscriber, my favorite secondary character in the series, Gina Morales, she's having her own story told in like little stories that kind of bridge the gap between the books. So you get those
neat.
free.
How
Yay.
fun. That is a really interesting idea that I might look to steal sometime.
Yeah, I certainly didn't make it up. So naturally I stole it from, other other sources. I'm just writing your name down, Stephanie, so I don't forget. Well, thank you, everybody. This was super duper fun. Liz, what is I'm putting let me put Liz's website in what is it? Liz
I
Lincoln
just put it
author?
in there,
Oh, okay.
lizlincoln.com. But yeah, because my social is different on different websites because Liz Lincoln was already taken on pretty much every platform. So it's easiest just to go to my website. And then, yeah, you can get the order links for all my books. I do specifically link to Love Sweet Arrow on all of those pages. And I encourage you to buy, whether you're getting paperbacks or ebooks, buy through them because we love them to get our business.
Yes, and we want to give a shout out to Love Sweet Arrow, as always, for
Yes.
hosting. You are
Yes.
amazing, Marissa and Roseanne.
We love you.
We love you so much. And they are opening a new store. They have
I know, I can't wait to go.
It's so exciting. They have
Yeah.
a new facility coming. So we be sure to send your dollars their way so they can open this awesome new storefront.
Yep.
So
And Marissa and Roseanne, you're invited to come to the Red Stars game with us as well.
perfect. Everyone here is welcome.
Yes. If you can get to Chicago easily, we would love to go to a Red Stars game with you.
Yes. So yeah, find us on the socials and say, I'm going to the game with you. Here's my availability. All right. Thank you again, Love Sweet Arrow. Thanks to Liz.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone
Thank you, Kelly.
for showing up.
Yes, thank you.